Hi there guys and welcome back to Tom Voyage. So this week the shop Lidl has been causing a bit of a stir with this pizza oven. It costs just £79, but at that price, is it really that good? Well, in this video we're going to fire it up, talk you through some of the features and put it to the test. Now usually when you think about pizza ovens, you might expect to pay somewhere in the range of £250, anywhere up to £700. But this one comes in at £79. Now honestly, that's the cheapest pizza oven that I've ever seen available. So in this video, I'm going to run you through some of the features and we're actually going to cook a pizza on this oven to see how it performs. From a first look, the quality looks okay. There was a little bit of work to do putting it together. You have to put these handles on and things, but it only took about 15 minutes and it was very, very easy with a few basic tools. It's got a nice powder coated black body and there doesn't seem to be much in the way of insulation. So if you look at the door, for example, it's really thin and there's no kind of insulation around here. It's just more of an air gap. It's designed to cook a 12-inch pizza and that's the size of the stone here. The stone is fairly thick, it looks about 10 mil, and there's an air gap under the stone as well, which is going to prevent it from getting too hot. There's a thermometer here on the top so you can check your temperature. The chimney just slots in, it doesn't lock or anything, and there's a flap on top here which helps you regulate your airflow. So if you wanted a lower temperature, you would close it halfway. If you wanted a higher temperature, you would have it open the full way. It also features a carry handle on top, and overall it feels fairly robust, but I did have to prop it up at the back here because it was a little bit wobbly, so yeah. Now one of the strange things about it is it says it's a pizza oven, but it doesn't mention whether it's wood fired or coal fired or pellet fired. And to be honest, reading the instructions, I couldn't find that anywhere. The only thing I did notice is that on the back here, it says the product can only be operated with food grade, natural, untreated wood pellets. So that would suggest it's designed to use pellets with. But looking at the fuel basket, it does seem like you could put charcoal in here, maybe with a chunk of wood on top. But for our cook today, I'm just going to be using pellets. One more thing I'd like to mention is that it has 4 legs instead of 3 that you might see on some other pizza ovens. The difference is with these though, they're actually bolted on so they don't fold up. So if you are keeping this oven in like a garage or on a shelf, just bear that in mind because it makes it quite tall. Now this pizza stone measures 30 centimeters wide by 30 centimeters deep, which makes it ideal for a 12-inch pizza. So to light the pizza oven, I'm first going to get the fuel basket and fill it full of some pellets. Not too many because we can always add more afterwards. I'm then going to use one of these fire lighters and bury that in the middle to get things going. Now as I've never used this oven before, I don't know how it's going to perform, so I'm also going to keep a couple of bits of kindling to one side just in case I need to add them to the top to help create a decent flame. Now before we light this pizza oven with the pellets, one thing that I thought was weird is that there's no hopper on the back here. Now usually when you've got a pellet pizza oven, there's a tube or some sort of hatch at the top, which means you can easily add more pellets. With this one, it seems that you've got to remove the whole fuel tray to add more pellets. So I don't really like that, to be honest. I'd rather have an easier way to do it. Anyway, we'll light this up and see how long it takes to get to a decent cooking temperature. So I'm going to use a blowtorch like this to light it. I've also made sure that the front door is on and the chimney baffle is open all the way. I've decided that I am going to put a bit of kindling on there just to help things move along. So our pizza oven is now lit. I'm going to leave this for about 20 minutes. That's usually the time it takes for a normal pizza oven to come up to temperature. We'll check back and we'll see how it's getting on. So we've been going for around 10 minutes now, and as you can see, it's burning quite well. There is quite a few funny smells coming off it. I think it's maybe just like the factory synthetics just burning off. So I definitely recommend curing this oven before your first cook. So it's been around 20 minutes now. I actually added one more bit of kindling to the back of the fire there. The temperature reading on the top is showing 370 degrees centigrade. That's about 700 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to check the stone temperature now with the digital thermometer. So 293 degrees, it's not really hot enough yet to cook a pizza. That's probably due to the fact that there's not much heat retention in this oven. I'm going to leave it for another 10 minutes and see where we are there. Some of the other models that I've got, like the Unis for example, they would be up to temperature by now, so maybe this is the first kind of indication of this being a cheaper pizza oven. But we'll leave it for 10 more minutes and we'll see where we're at with the temperature then. Another thing I'd like to mention about this oven is, as you can see, I've got an old pizza stone here now because there was a few bits of the lit pellets fell out the back here and onto the table and it burnt my table. So yeah, that wasn't great. So it might be worth having like a metal tray or an old pizza stone to help prevent that happening. If you like the look of this table, by the way, it's from a company called Zest. They make lots of outdoor wooden products, all of them very, very nice. I'll put a link in the description below so you can find more information there. So it's actually been about 40 minutes now, and from this thermometer on the top, we're still running at about 350 degrees. Now the reason for this is I found that the oven went out a couple of times because that fuel basket is just too small. Multiple times throughout the cook, I found myself having to add just one more piece of kindling or a small amount of pellets just to try and raise that temperature. That small fuel basket's going to cause real problems because when you do eventually get it up to temperature, it's not going to maintain it for a while. I also found it really awkward to add more fuel because rather than having a hatch on the back, I had to remove the full fuel tray, which was really, really hot, so you'll definitely need some gloves for this, and add the fuel on top, which is obviously a bit more of a risk when it comes to burns. So I'm going to leave it a couple more minutes, and if we still don't get any hotter temperatures, we're just going to have to cook a pizza at 350 degrees. And just before we do that, we'll check the stone temperature again. So that's at 330 degrees, which has gone up a little bit, but still not at that 450 degrees centigrade, which you need to cook a Neapolitan style pizza. So in total it's been around 50 minutes, and what I keep seeing happening is that fuel will burn, the temperature will rise, it burns all out, and then it drops again. So you've got to be really on it with your fuel. But I checked the stone temperature and that was about 400 degrees, so we're ready now to cook our pizza. So we've got a margherita style pizza here. Let's pop it on. Now I'm going to put the door back on for this cook just to make sure that the airflow maintains the correct way it should. So our pizza has been on for around 3.5 to 4 minutes now, and although it looks cooked, it's not really cooked enough on the edges there. Now with a normal pizza oven, you want to be heading for that 60 to 90 second mark for a properly cooked Neapolitan pizza. So if we check the underneath, you can see that the base is underdone as well. So overall, that's down to the fact that I just can't keep this oven hot enough for long enough. Even during that cook, the flames went out, and you might think you could just add some more wood on top, but the problem is then, as soon as you do that, you get a lot of smoke and you're going to get a lot of soot and ash on your pizza. So what's my final thoughts on this Lidl pizza oven? Well, as you can see, the pizza didn't really come out too well. That's down to the fuel basket. The fuel basket simply isn't big enough, and I found myself adding lots of fuel at multiple times to just try and keep that heat in there. Now you might think you can use charcoal instead, but again, that basket isn't really big enough. You'd still have to add more charcoal. If you wanted to cook something like a New York style pizza, which is maybe in the oven for about 5 minutes, then it would be okay because you don't need those super high temperatures. But for Neapolitan pizza, this doesn't really cut it. Another issue I found with this oven is the refueling. In order to add more fuel, you have to take the entire firebox out the back of the oven. That means you have to wear gloves, you have to have all your fuel ready to go, and especially on a wooden table, you can't put that down anywhere because it's going to burn. I'd much rather see a hatch at the top where you can easily add fuel as you need to. Now, I've just noticed something a bit weird on the box of this pizza oven. I don't know if this will come through on the camera, but as you can see here, there's a bit of white tape over one of the instructions. If you look closely, you can see through this white tape, it says suitable for use with charcoal and briquettes. So why would they cover that up if it was suitable for use with charcoal and briquettes? Weird. Another thing I noticed about the oven, which is again down to the price, is the metal has warped during the cook. Now obviously 350, 400 degrees, it's super high temperatures, and since then, all the parts of metal are kind of ill-fitting now. They've bent and warped a little bit due to that heat. But let's look at some of the good points. I mean, first of all is the price. If you're looking at getting into pizza making, then this may be a good option for you as a starting point. Or if you're looking for a cheap option that you're only going to use a couple of times a year, you'll be fine with this. But overall, I would have thought if you start out with something like this, after a few times of cooking, you're going to look for something more professional like an Ooni. So that being said, you need to ask yourself the question, is it worth getting a higher quality pizza oven like an Ooni, for example, right from the start? Thanks very much for watching this video. If you want to check out any of my other videos, I've got tons of reviews on the Oonis and the Gozneys. You can check them out. If you like what you saw today, please remember to like and subscribe, and please join us next time for more pizza making videos.